Not in that sense, you understand. Just a quick reminder, I'm John Kirkman. You may have heard me doing some of the announcements. I was told that it wasn't my fault, but you'd expect me to say that. Apparently my announcement went over one of the Storytellers in one of the other bars yesterday.
Straws.
Yes. Straws, yeah. I'm sorry, it wasn't my fault.
Yeah, come on.
Sorry, I wouldn't have done that. But as I'm here, it won't happen tonight because I haven't managed to be in two places at one time yet. I'm working on it though. Could prove to be very lucrative. Now this evening we're going to be talking to Colin and Rod, of course. Not only that, they're going to be playing a few songs for you as well, so I'm sure you'll enjoy. My first, if you like, introduction to the Zombies, I had to work my way back because I'm not as old as I look, really. I first got into Colin, Blunstone and Argent, of course. And on the live Argent album, the encore was Time of the Season. I thought, I recognise that, why? I did recognise it, but it wasn't a big hit in the UK. So I worked my way back and that's how I found the Zombies. Anyway, you're going to get a Storytellers tonight. We're all going to have a great time. So will you please put your hands together and please welcome Rod Argent and Colin Blunstone.
Well, I don't know quite how we're going to do this. I've written down a few songs here that we thought might work with just a piano, keyboard and voice, and we'll find out, along with you, whether some of them do.
They shut the lights down a bit.
So we'll start with something, and then I hope some of you got a lot of questions, and we can, just take it from there and see what happens. So here we go. Well, that's way back to 1965, and that was the second song we recorded. Can you think of anything to talk about?
That is a little bit better.
So we recorded that in Decca Studios in West Hampstead in London, and it was about the end of 1964.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And when we recorded that, we had a phone call in the studio from our publisher in America. We were 19 years old. And he phoned up and he said, just by the by, guys, in Cashbox this week, She's Not There is number 1. And this is in the middle of the section, and I remember it vividly.
Yeah.
No?
You're right. You're absolutely
It's
right.
true, it's true. It's a nice feeling. Being number 1, yeah. So while we were recording that, we got this news, so that if there's a little bit of joy in that song, you understand why. Although I have to say that we used to record about 5 tunes in an evening, and it was all backing tracks. We did 5 backing tracks. And I would sit there while they did the backing tracks. And I'm a very good sleeper. I'm actually world class. I was fast asleep by the time they finished the backing tracks. And they woke me up to sing that, Tell Her No. And in the second chorus, if you listen to the record, where it's going, Tell her no, and I'm going, oh, whatever. And the next bit is complete garbage. She goes, he sings, no. I was half asleep, and I said to the record, I said to the producer, we have to record that again. That's good enough, that's fine. That's how it was done in those days.
That's how it happened in those days. It was crazy when we were recording the first album, because we were talking about this just backstage, recording the first album. In those days, albums were not important. It took a little bit longer for them to become important. But everything we did was important to us. We wanted it to be good, but we had a very autocratic producer. And as Colin so rightly said, everything was recorded very, very quickly. We had 2 days to record our album. So we went in and we were doing some of the tracks. And one of the tracks we used to do on stage, one of the songs we used to do was Got My Mojo Working. So he said, the producer said, why don't we do a version of that? I said, okay. And that happened to be one of the few things that I sang with it. So I had in my head this weird idea that I wanted to try it in a really sort of mannered way. And I went and did it. And I came back and listened to the playback. And I said, oh my God, no, I've got to go back and do it how I normally do it. He said, no, that's it, that's fine. Next. And that's how recording was then. It was really crazy. Does anyone want to ask any questions at all?
If you hang on, I'll come over there with the microphone. Just while I'm moving over there, can I ask you a question? Were you more successful in America straight off, or were you pretty successful in the UK as well? I mean, I know She's Not There was a pretty big hit in the UK.
It's a very strange thing that the UK, which was our base, She's Not There was the only hit we ever had in the UK. And we found out later in our career that all the time we were together, almost at any particular time, we had a hit somewhere in the world, lots of different tracks. But we didn't know that at the time. And because we were based so much in the UK, and most of our income was coming from live work in the UK, it was only the 2 writers in the band, which were myself and Chris Wyatt, the original bass player, that actually had a decent income. And that was one of the main reasons why the band, in the end, split up when it did.
Okay. This gentleman here has got a question for you.
Yes, I was told the other night by one of the entertainers that in the 60s, you could record an album or 3 or 4 albums in a year. But nowadays you can't do that. It takes a long, long time. I was wondering, could you tell me why that is?
Well, I'm not sure it's necessarily true. Can I answer it in 2 parts? The first part is with the way studio recording has improved. You have so many choices, and so with choices it takes time. And so, in the 60s we just went in and we just played it as we knew it. So that's one thing. The other thing I've noticed is that if you're going to take your album to radio and to the media in general, they can't accept albums that quickly. I don't know how they managed in the 60s. There must have been, it was a totally different system. But really, you need to give them about 3 years, 2 years, 3 years, to sort of recover from your constant interviews and promotional pushes and all that kind of thing. Otherwise, they go, God, not you again. So it's not because the players aren't as good. It's not that. The players are bloody great these days. They really are. It's just that circumstances have changed, out of all recognition.
And can I add something to that? And that is that even when Colin says that there are so many choices now, because there are unlimited numbers of tracks, etc., etc., that's true. But we, particularly on our last album, Breathe Out, Breathe In, we thought, okay, we're going to use some of the criteria that we always used to be governed by in the early days, because we had no choice. We had to go in there and we always had to play the rhythm section together, so there was some sort of inter-reaction going on and capturing of the performance. I still think it doesn't matter how many tracks you've got or whatever, it's still all about capturing the performance. And on each of the tracks, that we did on the last album, I think typically we would go in there and we would actually record the backing track in, I would say, a total of about 3 hours. And then Colin would have a guide vocal on that backing track, and that would be it for that day. And we deliberately tried not to put many overdubs on the last album, because we wanted to be able to capture that sort of immediacy and freshness and interaction between things. And then on another day, Colin will come in and in a very unhurried way, we'd take all day for him to work on his vocal, but each time it was a complete, he might sing the song 12 times, but it would be a complete performance each time. And sometimes we would make up a composite vocal from those, but always from complete organic performances, because it's so important to perform as if it's the only time you've got the chance to record. And you have to do it, as if that's your only chance ever. And that's really what we go in and are governed by. So in some ways, I think you have to take the best of what you had to do in the old days, but then use the technique that the studio has got as well. But make that your servant, not your master. I think that's the really important thing.
We've got another question here from this gentleman.
I don't know if you remember WNEW-FM in New York City.
Yeah.
The premier rock and roll station. Among others.
Allison Steele.
In a few years before they went off the air, they had coming up to their 2 millionth song played on the radio. And they had a contest if anyone remembered what the 1 millionth song was. And it turned out to be God Gave Rock and Roll to You by Argent.
Oh, wow. Fantastic, thank you.
Can I ask you a question about your record label? Because have we got anybody else in here from the UK at all? Yeah? Okay, well you know that obviously the Zombies were on Decca originally. And in the UK there were mainly 3 labels, weren't there guys? It was EMI, Decca or Pi. How did you get signed to Decca? Because you were in good company. You were with the Moody Blues, Small Faces, the Stones, of course.
Well, I think it's a strange story, and I'm not sure any of us really quite understand, to be honest. But I just want to say can I answer that in a roundabout way?
Answer it however you like.
We took part in the Hearts Beat competition. It's a rock and roll competition. There were 10 bands a week, and I think it went on for about 10 or 12 weeks. So there was like over 100 bands that came from all over the country. And I can't tell you how surprised we were, but we won the bloody thing. And as a result of that,
And the first
also,
heat,
I should say, this today is the celebration I've just been informed. This is today is the 50th anniversary of when we won that first heat. And then we went back to the final and we won that. And it all led towards a contract which was kind of led by a producer called Ken Jones, and he was very interested in us, and he took us to Decca, and that's how we ended up with Decca. I forgot what your question was.
You answered it perfectly. If we'd have known, we would have baked you a cake.
Should we play something
Let's
else?
have another song, I think.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if this is
Old
going
and
to work,
wise.
Cole, but this is going to be interesting. If we,
Can I just say, because sometimes when you play it on piano, it doesn't sound the same as when it's with a band. And so this is one of the most frightening points in my life. When Rod starts it, often I don't know what the bloody song is.
I think you'll know this
By
one.
the end of the intro, I'll know.
Well, this is from the album that we made very recently, which, as I say on stage, actually, to our amazement, got some really stunning reviews, both in the US and the UK. And this is a track from it called Breathe Out, Breathe In. We'll see if this works. Actually, before we have another question, why don't we do... this is a song that we did the other night, actually. Last night, was it? Yeah. Last night, yeah. And this is sort of... It's so funny, you know, because Colin and I got back together really by accident. I did a charity show for a jazz musician friend of mine called John Dankworth. And it was to do with raising money for a theatre in Milton Keynes in the UK. And in the audience was Colin, and he got up on the spur of the moment and sang She's Not There in Time of the Season, and do you know what? It felt like we'd been playing together about 2 weeks before. And he said soon after that he said, why don't we put half a dozen gigs together just for fun? And so we did that, and I honestly thought that's all it was going to be, and somehow it gradually, it took a while to get momentum going, but it's gradually turned into travelling around the world in the last 40 years. When we started, we didn't really do much zombie stuff, because the one thing we didn't want to do is just look back all the time. We hated the idea of, excuse me, we hated the idea of just, you know, looking back and raking over the embers and all that sort of business. We didn't want to do that. But after a while, we realised there was a lot of stuff that we either never played live because we broke up before Odyssey and Oracle came out, or it had been so long ago that we could rediscover it and really, really enjoy it. And within the context of doing new stuff, it was really good fun to play all the old stuff. So we did a lot of that, and we got more and more Zombies material into the set. And then things like this happened. I mean, just a few months ago, I was just trawling the YouTube on the internet, and I came across Tom Petty playing I Want You Back Again, which is an old Zombies thing from 1965. And we said, why don't we do that? It's something we never played live. It was believe it or not, this is one of those songs that I said we usually had a hit somewhere. It was a small hit in France, believe it or not. But we never played it, and we've really loved playing it. So whether this is going to work without a rhythm section, we'll find out. You know.